So last week we talked about John Kazana, and we talked about Fuller coming in and buying Knoxville and changing the name to Southeastern Wrestling, making the TV more serious, and really turning one or two towns into a full territory by adding East Kentucky, all of East Tennessee, parts of Virginia. How far west was Crossville the cutoff going west?
Yeah. We may have gone. There was. We went down towards Crossville, and then we went north, sort of northwest. I forget, there was a little town we ran a couple times. It don't matter, but it was a little north to the northwest of Crossville. But that was about it going west. Now
we went going down. Go ahead.
Yeah, we went up into West Virginia a little bit too early on.
Oh, okay. So probably, Channel 57. I think it still reaches over to Bluefield and Princeton in that area too. So
yeah, we ran Bluefield.
What about going down 75? Probably Sweetwater, somewhere around there, to cut off before you got down to Chattanooga.
Yeah, that was. We never got down around. Of course, Harry Thornton had Chattanooga and Cleveland. So we may have. I think we did get as far south as Athens one time. Ran Athens once, but it was stayed up around Lenore City, Sweetwater, up through there.
Yeah, which is just if they don't know, get a map out and look. You could get a spot show that was 20 miles from your house. Easy trips out of Knoxville. Then
yes, absolutely,
it's just wonderful. So I've got some, usually I do the show fly by my seat. I do the John Kazana where I just sit down with no kind of format. We just go from there. But actually today I went and dug up, with my years of sitting in the library looking these newspaper ads up, and my good friend David Williamson, who sent me a lot of stuff over the years. And I've got right here in front of me the very first card that Southeastern ran in the Coliseum. Now when they took over, they were at Chehaly Park in the Jacobs Building, over there at the amphitheater in the Jacobs Building for the most part. But January 24th of 75, which would be, probably 4 months after Ron bought Knoxville.
Yeah, we took over officially first part of November of 74. Yeah.
So about 3 months. And look here,
right.
We have a lot of old-time fans that listen here, so they're going to know all these names. All the young guys and girls that listen, if you don't know these names, go look them up, because this is a loaded card. Main event, NWA World Championship, Jack Briscoe and Nelson Royal, who was a many-time junior heavyweight champion. Ladies World Championship, Moolah and Vicky Williams. Southeastern title, Ron Fuller champion against Cowboy Bill Watts. Mid-America champion, which that was Nick Goulis' main champion out of Nashville and Chattanooga, Don Kent against Ron Wright. Eddie and Mike Graham against Dutch Mantell and John Foley. Les Thatcher against Danny Hodge. And the opener was Professor Del Lewis and Steve Kern. And that's pretty much, at that time, that's a who's who of Tennessee and some guys from Florida and Georgia. They had to be.
There was every match on the card was a main event.
Yeah.
Right.
And they advertised this as the Coliseum Spectacular, which would later, Ron would do the same kind of card every January. Usually he did the following year, and from there on, and even through Continental, he did it on New Year's Day and called it the Night of Champions. So here, the note I have here, because I asked Dutch Mantell about this card, and Dutch said the thing that he remembers about this card more than anything was an ice and snowstorm. Being the first night entered. Do you remember that, Les?
You know what? I don't. I really don't. I don't remember that. I swear I don't. Nelson and I had a hell of a run with Dutch and John Foley too, for the tag team belts there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those clippings here. The newspaper reported 3,019 people, which what's the auditorium hold? Just 6,500, just shy of that.
Yeah, somewhere between 55 and 6. When we set the record in there, and I couldn't even tell you, that was the Night of Champions, I think, one time too. But we hit a little over 6,600, I think, to set the record.
Yeah, that card. Shoot, I should have dug it out. that card was Fuller and Funk. And Jimmy Golden with Nelson Royal for the junior belt. And I believe they brought the girls back and a few other guys from different territories.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, when did word get out from when Fuller took over? You know, how long did it take before guys realized, man, there's something going on up there, and I'd like to go work there?
Well, it took a while because, as you said earlier, it wasn't a territory when John had it, right? So it wasn't like you could, you know, let's move to Knoxville and work once or twice a week, you know, unless you're making huge amounts of money. So that was part of it, and then we're, you know, well, like on that card you're talking about, 75, the first card at the Coliseum, those guys went back and talked about it, right? And we had started opening up, you know, build into a territory from that point on. We, excuse me, it built into where there was a waiting list of good top quality talent that wanted to come in there. And if you stop and look at the whole list of names that came through there from 74 to 79, I mean, it was amazing. I told you we could have had Roddy Piper.
No, I didn't hear that one.
Okay, yeah. Excuse me. Leo Garibaldi and I had a great relationship. He was a mentor to me as far as, you know, psychology for the business and that sort of thing. But anyway, he was booking L.A. at the time, and he called me and he said, I got a kid here that's, you know, he's not a great worker. He's a good worker. He said, but he's a hell of a talker. And he said, I've done a lot of business with him, but he said, I don't want to burn him out, and I need to get him out of here for a while. He said, I was wondering if you might take him. And I said, hell, Leo, I know we got some guys waiting to come in. I said, I'll have to check with Ron. We'll see. So anyway, I, you know, called, and we couldn't squeeze this guy in. Ron said, well, you know, so-and-so, we promised so-and-so. Okay. So I called Leo back, and we can't go. So he said, I guess I better call around. And so he called Charlotte, and that was Piper, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
So
there were so many. I mean, I've got here's June of 78 in front of me, all the lineups in June and July. Let's look at some of the guys. I mean, Garvin and Stomper on top. Fuller, Bob Root, Jimmy Golden, Dennis Condrey and Phil Hickerson, Ricky Gibson, Boris Malenko, Don Carson, Tony Charles. I mean, those guys all did business everywhere they went. You know,
right.
And they all came in here, and I mean, let's see who else we can find. I mean, Knoxville had a who's who. I mean, every world champion came here through the Southeastern with Briscoe and Funks and
Harley.
You know, Flair. Harley was here quite often. Flair came in after he got it at the dying end of Southeastern, and we'll talk about that in a minute because he ended up being part of the ownership here. But how involved was Ron Fuller with the booking, you know, when he came in? I mean, I'm sure he was hands-on with everything because he just made a huge investment. But how long was it before he let someone else book Knoxville, book the territory here?
Well, Nelson Royal and I came, you know, Nelson came in with me as the top babyface team, and we helped book at the start. I mean, help Ron book, you know. Ron had help from the get-go. I mean, you know, a lot of it was built around his ideas. Some of it was our ideas. And then Joe Hamilton came in behind us, the assassin. Jody helped book for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then Robert. And then it went back to, then we had Roop. And then the split.
Yeah. Who do you think of that time? Who was the best booker?
Me? No, I'm kidding you. I'm kidding you. You know, I think everybody, you know, did a good job. I think that, you know, from the progression, we started, like, we built a foundation, and Jody took it from there. And, you know, And by the time Robert got it, it was on a roll, and it was, I won't say it was easy, but, we just, as it was, we were lucky to get guys who fit into the flow, We had worked with Roop in Florida and had, made friends with him down there. So we were looking to bring, and so that's how that all started. Of course, Robert came in because he's Ronald's brother. I came in to build a television because he and I had a personal relationship. But, of course, I had the credentials to do that, too. But, it was just the thing built a hell of a head of steam. It was a hell of a territory. It really was.
And the thing, too, that, you were kidding, but, we have to give you credit because if what you and Nelson were doing at the beginning, if it didn't work, it wouldn't have took off. It wouldn't have became what it became. And, I think that was good with all the years of experience you had in the places you had been, the place Nelson had been, where you had seen what had worked and what not had worked. And I'm sure you had a million ideas of your own that you really had not had a chance to use somewhere else, like the personality profiles, which became just a great piece every week on television. People waited to see that just as much as they did the actual matches.
Yeah. That was one of the things too. It was a fresh. Nelson hadn't done anything. Well, I shouldn't say. He was always involved in his own matches, and he should have been. He was one of the best ring generals I ever worked with in my life. Period. But anyway, Nelson had, and then I was given the opportunity with the television. And Ronald, was obviously getting his feet wet for the first time as a promoter. So it was like a bunch of kids, excited to, to prove themselves, to a certain degree. So we did a lot of stuff that's fresh, but I think that kind of made it easier too, Beau, because, we shifted gears, and so the people had to take a little more notice, They had to digest it a little differently, and it just built. And then, of course, when when the Stomper came in for that first 2-ring battle royal, and just annihilated everybody. That established Archie as well. When brought Garvin and Ronnie.
What a run that Archie had here. He was working for me, just within 10 years ago. He had a tremendous run here, and that's the guy that's named all the time. Of course, Ron Wright, Whitey Caldwell are the first two names that they're always mentioned, but your name is right behind that, and then Archie Goldie the Stomper is right there too, as a guy that every wrestling fan here remembers.
He and I worked with him the first time when he first did the gimmick in Kansas City in '63. Archie had just. That's where he got the gimmick. It was in Kansas City with O'Connor and Geigel, and it's the first time we met and first time I worked with him. But yeah, he was, But that was the thing too. That was a whole different type of character, than the people in the area were used to, and the way he got, like I say, he just ran over everybody in that battle royal, and so it was just part of it was timing. And just being, trying to stay ahead of the curve, which obviously you can't do forever. But the hell of it was, the territory was rolling good, and it would have, without all the disturbances and the big falling out and the whole thing, I think it would have, taken care of. It would have rolled right on into, into the 80s, and he had bought Mobile to work guys back and forth between the two territories. So,
yeah, a lot of people they don't realize there was two Southeastern. There was the Northern Division based in Knoxville, and then the Southern Division down on the Gulf Coast.
Right.
And
yeah.
And that had to be
that was the whole idea.
On Ron.
When he first bought that down there, I was doing a TV show on Wednesday nights, an all-tape show at BIR Studios to send down to Mobile. We put a Southeastern Showcase show in down there before he finally got live got live TV or the TV off of Dothan into Mobile itself. And but that was the whole idea was, to you work the Knoxville end, for a while, and then figure, you need to rest out of here. Hey, we'll try to figure you into Mobile, where the guys can switch back and forth. And
both places were short trips, good money, and you were home every night.
Yes. Well, Mobile, you stayed in Dothan on Friday night to catch TV on Saturday. Other than that, you were home.
Was there anybody that came into Knoxville that didn't get over that you thought would get over?
I don't remember that. Honestly, some guys in varying degrees, but no, I think, because a lot of it too, Beau, I think it was because, the initial run was so many fresh faces, right? People who had never been there. And, with the magazines, once wrestling kind of caught fire in the area, I'm sure more people picked up magazines and stuff like that. So then oh, wow, I saw that guy in the magazine. And, of course, that makes him a little more special, right?
Right.
Or the funny, or if you might have seen Florida TV, and we brought somebody in from there. That was a funny thing Danny Miller and I found out when we came out of Tampa in '71 to be the number 2 babyface team in the Carolinas. And it was funny because places where the Florida TV came in, we were over more so initially. And for some reason, it seemed like we were more over, because it was from someplace else, I don't know if that makes any sense or not. But
right. As a kid, I used to go to Wallace Newsstand down on Broad Street in Kingsport first of the month, buy a couple of magazines and look and see where my favorites were at and who this guy was. And like when I saw them when they came here for Southeastern or Crockett, seeing how we got both here, I mean, they were a bigger star. Wow, that guy was, Florida heavyweight champion, or he was the Pacific Northwest champion, or, whatever. But, and it's just the talent, unbelievable talent that came through there, and everything going from running 1 to 2 towns a week to becoming a full-time territory, and everything seemed to be rolling and just going right along. And then the summer of '79 came, and the big split, the fallout, where All-Star Wrestling opened up opposition across town against Southeastern Wrestling. Bob Root, Bob Orton Jr., Ronnie Garvin, Malenko, they all left Southeastern and opened up against Flair. And was there any kind of signs that was coming? What exactly was all that over?
You have heard it first here, probably. I don't know if this has ever been talked about before. We knew it was going to happen before it happened, but there was nothing could be done about it because it would have, it's too. I can't even sit here and break it down for you if I wanted to right now. It's too many years ago. But, the crazy thing is, yes, someone, Ron's dad, found out about it somehow. I couldn't even begin to tell you how. But I remember Ron calling me and saying, you need to come over to the house. He said, I need to talk to you. And so, and we went along knowing, just he and I think Mac, excuse me, and but it just we had to let it play out because it would have, go ahead.
Was there still a thought that it wasn't going to happen? They were just bluffing, or I mean, you knew for a fact they were going to do this.
Yeah, we knew for a fact it was set up. So, and of course, it did play out, but we had people, we knew it was going to play out, so we were kind of prepared for it. But the crazy thing is we kind of alluded to this last week too when we were starting to talk about it. That city wasn't big enough to subsidize 2 groups like that.
No.
And it's just all I mean, in Atlanta there was a winner to the war. We can cite wars in a lot of places, and there's usually there's a winner. Roy Shires knocked out Joe Malkovich in San Francisco, and so on and so forth. But those are big cities, and so it just it ended up killing the goose that laid the golden eggs.
Yeah, I mean, they went on TV in Channel 26. They went on 12:30 to 1:30 in Knoxville. But here in the Tri-Cities, they went on the same time that Southeastern was on. Different station, of course, Channel 19. They went to Kingsport, Channel 19. Southeastern was on Channel 11. But why would you go against something that has already been established? Channel 11 had 2:30 Saturday afternoon wrestling since they've been on the air. You know,
yeah.
And they went head-to-head here. Here's the card. This is September of '79, Friday night, the Coliseum. Mongolian Stomper and Andre the Giant against Ox Baker and Alexis Smirnoff. Dick Slater and Paul Orndorff for the Southeastern title underneath that. Robert Fuller against Jimmy Golden return match, plus midgets and 2 other bouts. And the very next night, Bill Myers Stadium, which, if you're not familiar with Knoxville, is probably, 10 blocks away, maybe?
Yeah.
Ginger the Wrestling Bear is going to be there to wrestle fan. They're going to have fan participation. Somebody's going to win a trophy as the best bear wrestler. 13-man pole battle royal, Bob Orton Jr. against Randy Savage. Then here was the other thing. They had their own Southeastern tag champions and Southeastern heavyweight champion. Terry Gibbs and Ronnie Garvin against the Assassin and Malenko. Bob Roop against Barry O. Then, of course, they had midgets there, too, plus Leaping Laney against the Spoiler. I don't know who the Spoiler was at that time here. And, of course, here, the Chicken Challenge. They always had to run some kind of challenge on their TV. And in their newspaper ad, $5,000 versus a chicken, Bob Orton Jr. against Ron Fuller if Ron Fuller shows up. Now, did you guys worry about what they were doing, or did you just keep going about your own business?
Well, we just kept going about our own business. I mean, you know, here's the deal. Let's face it. In these challenges, shooters don't challenge shooters, right?
Right.
That's all. So it's it's not going to happen. It's just that the people don't know. They know when they make the challenge, and when you hear the challenge. It's not going to happen.
When they became ICW, when they regrouped with the PAFOs, they would do the same kind of, like they'd have Bob Roop challenge Handsome Jimmy Valiant. Well, anybody who knew anything about wrestling knew Jimmy Valiant wasn't going.
Right.
Well,
it was like with us in Southeastern. Nobody challenged Dick Slater. Nobody challenged Tony Charles.
Right.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen. I'll tell you a story. Well, when we get to the Mulligan end of this thing, I'll tell you the story that reminded me.
I'm going to jump in. I also got a caller here. If you're listening live, come back in a few minutes and listen to the last 15 minutes here. After Mobile, we're going to 90 minutes in prime time, but I got Les Thatcher here, and I just clicked on there. Are you there, Bobby Simmons?
Yeah, I just wanted to call in. I used to tote Mr. Thatcher's bag when I was a little boy, and I was so excited to hear him on the radio, I couldn't help myself. I'm just listening.
You are younger,
the show, guys.
but not that much younger, kid.
I'm enjoying listening to the show. This is fascinating to me. It's good to hear somebody talk about a war other than the one I get roped into talking about all the time.
And Bobby is the perfect guy to have on here for the next thing. Les, when did Ron know it was time to get out of Knoxville and sell to Barnett?
Wow. He, I don't know that it was time. He bailed before we would, before any of us would have that had helped build the thing with him. In fact, there was talk at one time of a group of us, including Nelson, Mac, myself, Charlie, who was the bookkeeper for the company, and Bob Polk, all going together and buying the company. Yeah. But we decided not to do that. So, Ron ended up selling to Barnett. Ron just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge, to be very honest about it.
Mac has told me before that you guys wanted to stay and fight. You had a bigger TV. You were drawing better than they were because you were established. But, I mean, It takes a toll, especially when you've had a huge investment. And I guess Ron just was maybe in panic mode where he thought, man, if I keep fighting, there's a chance of losing. And, of course, he had Mobile already up and going. And so, Bobby, did you have any kind of the dealings in between the sale or anything, or did you know anything about it before it was done?
No, we heard rumors he was buying it, but I didn't know anything, and I was, there almost every day. But, the thing, just a question, just thinking, and then, it's, unless this is probably just an opinion, there's no way to really tell. The guys that pulled away and went away, and I got nothing against none of them. I like all of them. I've worked with every one of them. But the thing I'm just questioning is, I'm not real sure that the 3, 4, 5 of the main cogs over there together could have run a business very long.
No.
I mean, I don't. They had no experience running an office. They had no experience running a promotion. They would have sunk their own ship eventually.
I'll tell you, first of all, they were offered partnerships in IWA or ICW or whatever the hell it was called. Okay?
Yeah,
they were offered, we're going to make you partners. Okay? The other thing is, and this has been told by the participants, or at least a couple of them, that Ron was skimming off the top. And I'm going to laugh when I say that, because an educated guess of mine would be every friggin' promoter in the business was getting first count, was taking something off the excuse my French, off the top. So you better quit working with all these promoters. But I mean, when I say that, it just, to me, with intelligent people, to do something like that because of that, I mean, like I said, if you held a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you whether Ron was skimming or wasn't skimming, to be very honest with you. I don't know. But my educated guess is like I say, I think they all were. It's just never crossed my mind to start a mutiny because of it.
Yeah, Barnett, who was booking? You stayed for a little while there after Barnett had bought before you went on down to Mobile. But who was booking Knoxville then, Les?
Louis.
Okay.
Louis was, and
there was
Ole would slide in and out.
There. Ole was there, Giller Carl Cox, Jerry Stubbs, Teal and Tapu, Mephisto. I mean, they still was, Stan Hansen was coming in and out, Austin Idol, Tommy Rich. I mean, they were still names, especially
Buzz
coming
Sawyer.
off
we had a young, in shape Buzz Sawyer.
Yeah.
We had Sterling Golden.
Yeah, later become Hulk Hogan.
You couldn't have everything.
Yeah, you can't have everything, can you? Somebody had to have him. For those who don't know who Sterling Golden is, that's Hulk Hogan. Or he was Sterling Golden then.
Yeah, Knoxville was, I believe, was the first place he was put on top. Maybe Mobile then here, but it was one of the first.
Yeah.
He was Southeastern champion, beating Dick Slater, I believe it was.
But the deal was that Idol was in Atlanta, and Jim said he couldn't have two blondes at the same time, Leslie. I said okay. So we got Sterling Golden, and you guys kept Austin Idol, and then Idol worked some up here too.
Yeah, he was just in and out. Bobby, did you come up any during that time?
No. Only time I was ever in Knoxville, I came through there to I'm not sure who it was. Somebody borrowed our cage, and I had to pick it up and take it to Cincinnati or Columbus, Ohio. That was the only time I was ever there.
Mm-hmm. Well, by God, if I ever run a promotion there again, I'll book you. How's that?
Please, that'd be great. As long as no bumps involved, I'm fine.
Why do you think Barnett sold to Flair, Crockett, and Blackjack? Did he realize after he bought it, man, that the damage had been done, and he just wanted to get out, or because he owned it about a year, right at a year?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I left before he sold it, and then came back.
Yeah.
But Ron worked out of his condo. I worked out of my apartment. Mac worked out of his. I mean, there was no Southeastern office as such, right? Well, when Barnett came in, he rented office space over by the fairgrounds just outside of the fairgrounds. We were right by Chilhowie Park. Put Bob Polk and I in there, and had Ralph Reed running back and forth, and it was just, was spending, probably more than was necessary anyway, because business was down, simply because of the split too, and didn't have a chance to build it back up. But I figure he just decided to cut his losses because it wasn't jumping the way he expected it to jump. But go ahead.
So the Blackjack, Flair, Crockett, they came in, they combined Knoxville and Roanoke and tried to make it into a bigger territory. They still were doing TVs there. You came back to do the TVs, which was the first place I ever remember seeing the green screen, where you would announce the guy and his face would be up on the NWA logo, and you would roll it around and his opponent would come up on the other side. That was the first time I remember seeing something like that on TV. That
three-sided set that we had at BIR, yeah. I had an electric foot pedal to turn it. Yeah. But they never did combine it with Roanoke. That's the problem. They were supposed to, and that never transpired, never happened. I think maybe they went up there and worked once or something. I don't remember. But, it never that we had it as part of the territory. That never. And, of course, Flair is one of the owners. We expect we're going to get more use out of him. And I think he worked twice.
Right. He won the title the first time right after they bought the territory.
Yeah.
But here's one thing I remember about Blackjack's promotion. The crop of young talent that he had there, Bobby Eaton, Terry Taylor, Ken Wayne, Barry Windham, I believe Rotundo was there too for a little bit.
No.
But he had some great young guys that were just really getting started in Knoxville at that time.
Yeah. That's Terry Taylor loves to tell the story about. I took him and a few of the other young guys down to the Coliseum on Friday in the afternoon when I knew the ring would be set up, to work out with a little bit. And first time I worked out with locked up with Terry, I locked up working, and I about got knocked halfway across the ring. And he said, and he'll grin and he'll say, and Les stepped back and said, "God damn kid, it's a work." I said, yeah. So anyway, we had a great. But we were talking about challenges earlier, and I'm not going to use names here because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or insult anybody or create any problems. But I'm going to tell the story. I have to use Blackjack's name because he was one of the owners. I happened to witness this conversation firsthand. It was the reason I remember it so well. A guy that owned a car wash there worked security for us, right?
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Ed, and nice guy. He'd been on the sheriff's department at one time, I think. And anyway, so the guys who had jumped to the other side, they still stopped by Ed's place and so forth, so on. So anyway, Ed comes into the dressing room, and there's hardly anybody there. So it's early. Blackjack, myself, and I don't remember who, a couple other guys. And Ed said, "Hey," he said, "2 of the guys stopped by the car wash earlier in the week." And we're talking and said, "Well, now that we see we got new owners, I guess we need to issue some new challenges." And before he could say more, Mulligan says, "Stop right there." He said, "You can go back and tell those boys they don't need to waste their valuable television time or any air time for me." He said, "Because I've got my whole life invested into this territory." And he said, "They just need to tell me where they need me to be and when." Nobody called him. So there's the story.
No more challenges after that.
No. Nobody posted a big sign saying, "Mulligan, we're calling you out." No. Well, I think they probably figured he wasn't going to get down on his fours,
Yeah.
So I mean, so like I say, the challenges, the chest pounding and everything is all cool, but it's seldom anything transpires from it.
And I never understood the ICW would spend 30 minutes challenging Fuller, challenging Jared Jarrett, challenging Pojo. I mean, they spent 30 minutes of their hour TV just putting the opposition over. You know, I mean, that was just bad. So we got about 4.5 minutes left, Les. What do you think? What is your greatest memory of your time here in Knoxville?
Wow, there's so many, honestly. I mean, with all the promotion, the memories of working, Whitey as my partner and the Wrights and the big crowds and helping Ron build Southeastern and Nelson as a tag team partner and building that television, doing TV, was doing the Smoky stuff with, working with Hodge there, doing the Smoky stuff with Jimmy, working with Ross and that crew of guys. I mean, Lord, the memories are they're great. I mean, that's kind of like my second home, I guess. But it was just I enjoyed my time there so much, and it was a lot of great memories. A lot of people here think you're from here. They think you were East Tennessee born and bred. Well, by golly, I feel like it's some. I do.
And as much time as you spend over here in the valley, over here on the other side of the Smoky Mountains, you're truly an Appalachian by heart. So,
yeah, I couldn't get in there today if I wanted to, though, could I?
No, not at all. I heard they had 18 inches of snow over there around Asheville, so that's
wow.
Yeah, I could imagine how Maggie Valley is. Les, how do you want to be remembered here in East Tennessee?
Wow. I don't really. I hope that I try to get along with the general public, and I hope that we entertained them and gave them their money's worth. Like I say, it was my time there has been some of the best I've had in my life and in my career for sure. And I'll always cherish it. So, like I say, when I come through there, it's like home. My son still lives just north of Knoxville and runs a landscaping service, and so it's kind of home anyway for me.
Right. And I'm one of the lucky ones that got to grow up watching it and be a part of it at the tail end of it, working for Ronnie West, Bob Polk, running errands and doing everything. But, Bobby Simmons says it, and me and him talk about it every day on the phone. All of us were lucky to grow up and get to know our heroes and become friends. And I consider Les Thatcher a hero. Even dedicated my first book. He was one of the people it was dedicated to because Les's voice narrates all the memories of my childhood.
Boy, isn't that scary? I mean, that's frightening. When I showed that to Alice, she said, "Boy, it don't take much to entertain Beau, does it?"